It repairs retinal blood vessels in 6 weeks. It reduces the risk of advanced macular degeneration by 25%. It rebuilds the pigment layer behind your retina, the one that absorbs damaging light before it ever reaches your photoreceptors. And it costs less than $1 a day at any grocery store in America. But here's the part that made me angry. The part I wasn't expecting when I started researching this video. The eye care industry in the United States generates $46 billion a year, and one of their biggest revenue streams is over-the-counter eye drops. The ones marketed to seniors, the ones with advanced formula on the label and a picture of a crystal-clear blue eye. Some of those drops, the ones millions of Americans use every single morning, contain preservatives that are damaging the very surface they claim to protect. Not over years, over weeks. A study from the journal Cornea found that chronic use of preserved artificial tears led to measurable toxicity of the corneal epithelium, the outer layer of your eye, in as little as 1 month. You are paying to damage your own eyes. And meanwhile, the foods that actually repair vision, that actually rebuild the structures inside your eye, that degrade after 60, they're sitting in the produce section, ignored, unpatented, unprofitable. Today I'm going to walk you through 7 of them, ranked by the strength of the clinical evidence. I'm also going to show you, and this part honestly shocked me, the connection between your blood sugar and your eyesight that most eye doctors never explain to their patients, because the damage to your vision, for most seniors over 60, doesn't start in your eyes, it starts in your blood. If you believe seniors deserve the truth about what's happening to their vision and what they can do about it, starting tonight, say clear eyes in the comments, because the supplement industry does not want this video reaching you. This is Senior Health Blog. Let's go. Before I show you the foods, and I promise, I need you to understand what's actually happening inside your eyes right now. Because once you see this mechanism, you'll understand exactly why each food on my list works. And more importantly, you'll understand why most eye supplements don't. Your retina, the thin layer of tissue at the back of your eye, is the most metabolically active tissue in your entire body. Per gram, it consumes more oxygen than your brain, more than your heart, more than any organ. And that extreme metabolic activity creates a problem. Free radicals, oxidative stress, the same process that rusts iron, is happening inside your eyes every second of every day. Light hits your retina, and the photoreceptors that convert that light into electrical signals produce waste products, toxic byproducts. Your body has a system to clean them up, pigment cells called the retinal pigment epithelium, or RPE. When you're young, the RPE works efficiently. It clears the waste, recycles the damaged molecules, keeps everything clean. After 60, the RPE starts to slow down. Waste products accumulate. They form deposits called drusen, little yellow spots under the retina, and those deposits start to choke the blood supply to your photoreceptors. Less blood, less oxygen, less nutrition reaching the cells that let you see. This is the beginning of age-related macular degeneration, the leading cause of irreversible vision loss in adults over 60 in the developed world. And it happens silently. No pain, no redness, no obvious symptoms until you notice the center of your vision is getting blurry. But here's where it connects to something you already know about. Stay with me on this. Your retina depends on tiny blood vessels, capillaries so small that blood cells have to travel through them, single file. These capillaries are incredibly fragile, and they are exquisitely sensitive to one thing: blood sugar. Chronically elevated blood sugar, even pre-diabetic levels, even the kind your doctor calls borderline, damages these capillaries. The excess glucose binds to proteins in the vessel walls through a process called glycation. The walls thicken, they leak, they swell shut, and when those capillaries close, the retina is starved of oxygen. Your body responds by growing new blood vessels to compensate. Sounds helpful, right? It's not. Those new vessels are fragile, malformed. They leak fluid and blood directly onto your retina. That's diabetic retinopathy, and it's the #1 cause of new blindness in American adults aged 20 to 74. So let me connect the dots for you. Blood sugar damages retinal blood vessels. Damaged blood vessels reduce oxygen to the RPE. A weakened RPE can't clear waste efficiently. Waste accumulates as drusen. Drusen progression leads to macular degeneration. Your blood sugar and your vision are the same story. And the foods I'm about to show you, they work on both pathways. They reduce oxidative damage in the retina, and they improve the blood vessel health that keeps oxygen flowing to your photoreceptors. That's not a coincidence, that's biochemistry. Now, let me introduce you to someone. I'll call her Regina. Regina is 68, retired high school English teacher from outside Atlanta, reads constantly, always has, books, newspapers, crossword puzzles. Her mind is her identity. 3 years ago, she noticed something subtle. The words on the page weren't quite as sharp. She'd lose her place more often. She thought she needed new glasses. She got new glasses. Didn't help much. Her optometrist dilated her eyes and found early drusen in both retinas. Small, not immediately threatening, but they're the beginning of dry macular degeneration. Regina was told there was nothing to do right now. Come back in 6 months. We'll monitor. And that "will monitor" is where I take issue, because their asterisk is asterisk something to do. The research is clear, and it starts with the food at number 7 on this list, spinach. Now, before you roll your eyes, no pun intended, and say, "I already know spinach is healthy," let me show you why spinach specifically matters for your retina in a way that no other common vegetable does. Spinach contains the highest concentration of lutein and zeaxanthin per serving of any widely available food in the United States. Lutein and zeaxanthin are carotenoid pigments, and they are the primary components of the macular pigment. That's the yellow layer sitting directly over your most sensitive photoreceptors, acting as a built-in pair of internal sunglasses. This pigment filters blue light. It absorbs free radicals before they can damage the photoreceptors underneath. And after age 60, this pigment layer thins. Less protection, more damage, faster degeneration. A study published in the journal Investigative Ophthalmology and Visual Science one of the top peer-reviewed journals in the field, found that dietary intake of lutein-rich foods was associated with a 43% reduced risk of advanced macular degeneration. 43% from food, not supplements. I'll explain why that distinction matters in a moment. But here's the part about spinach that most people get wrong. Lutein is fat-soluble. Your body cannot absorb it without fat. If you eat raw spinach in a salad with fat-free dressing, you're getting almost none of the lutein. It passes right through you. Cook the spinach lightly, saute it in olive oil, steam it and drizzle it with butter, wilt it into eggs. The heat breaks down the cell walls, releasing more lutein, and the fat carries it across your intestinal lining into your blood. Regina's optometrist never told her this. He said, "Eat your greens," but he didn't tell her how to eat them so her body could actually use them. And spinach is just the beginning, because the food at number 6 does something spinach can't. Food number 6, eggs, egg yolks. And I know, for 40 years you've been told to limit egg yolks, cholesterol, heart disease, all of it. Let me give you the updated science, because the old science was wrong, and your eyes are paying the price for that mistake. A meta-analysis published in the BMJ in 2013, covering 17 studies and over 260,000 participants, found no significant association between egg consumption. That old fear was based on flawed assumptions about dietary cholesterol and blood cholesterol. The relationship isn't what they thought, but here's why eggs matter specifically for your eyes. Egg yolks contain lutein and zeaxanthin in a form that is significantly more bioavailable than any plant source. A study from the Journal of Nutrition found that the bioavailability of lutein from egg yolks was 200 to 300% higher than from spinach or supplement tablets, 2 to 3 times higher from the same carotenoid. Why? Because the lutein in an egg yolk is already embedded in a fat matrix. The yolk itself, the cholesterol and phospholipids in the yolk, serve as a natural delivery vehicle. Your gut absorbs it efficiently without any extra preparation needed. And there's more. Egg yolks also contain zinc, a critical cofactor for the enzymes in your retinal pigment epithelium that clear waste products. And they contain vitamin A in its active form, retinol, which is directly used by your rod photoreceptors for low-light vision. An egg is not just food for your retina, it's a repair kit. 2 eggs a day, cooked any way you like. That's the intervention. And a randomized crossover trial published in Clinical Nutrition confirmed that consuming 2 eggs daily for 12 weeks significantly increased macular pigment optical density, the thickness and protectiveness of that internal sunscreen layer I talked about, without any adverse changes in blood lipids. Regina started eating 2 eggs every morning, scrambled with a handful of sautéed spinach, and within 8 weeks, her optometrist measured a meaningful increase in her macular pigment density. Not a cure, not a miracle, but a measurable structural improvement in the part of her eye that was deteriorating. And the food at number 5 adds a layer of protection that neither spinach nor eggs can provide on their own. Food number 5, wild-caught salmon. Not farmed, not canned with soybean oil. Wild. And let me explain exactly why the source matters here. Because this isn't snobbery, this is biochemistry. Wild salmon is the richest commonly available dietary source of 2 specific omega-3 fatty acids, EPA and DHA. And DHA in particular makes up more than 60% of the fatty acids in your retinal photoreceptor membranes. Your retina is literally built out of DHA. When DHA levels in the retina drop, which they do with age, and which they do faster in people who don't eat fatty fish, the photoreceptor membranes become rigid, less fluid, less able to cycle the visual pigment rhodopsin that allows you to see in low light. This is one reason night vision deteriorates with age, not because your rods are dying, but because they're drying out. A landmark cohort study published in the Archives of Ophthalmology now known as JAMA Ophthalmology followed 2,520 adults over 12 years. Those who consumed the highest levels of omega-3 fatty acids had a 38% lower risk of developing late-stage macular degeneration compared to those with the lowest intake, 38% over 12 years from eating fish. And here's the inflammation angle, because this is where salmon does something unique. EPA, the other major omega-3 in wild salmon, is a precursor to a class of molecules called resolvins and protectins. These molecules actively resolve inflammation. They don't just block it like an anti-inflammatory drug, they resolve it. They signal to your immune cells that the inflammatory response is over and it's time to repair. Chronic low-grade inflammation in the retina, driven by oxidative stress, blood sugar damage and aging, is one of the primary accelerators of macular degeneration. EPA-derived resolvins directly counteract this. Now, here's why I said wild, not farmed. Farmed salmon has a fundamentally different fatty acid profile, because farmed salmon are fed grain-based diets instead of their natural food chain, smaller fish, krill, algae. Their omega-3 to omega-6 ratio is dramatically worse. Some farmed salmon actually contain more omega-6 than omega-3, and omega-6 in excess promotes inflammation, the opposite of what you want. A comparative analysis published in the Journal of the American Dietetic Association found that wild Pacific salmon had an omega-3 to omega-6 ratio of approximately 10 to 1. Farmed Atlantic salmon, closer to 3 to 1 or 4 to 1, some samples as low as 2 to 1. So if you're eating farmed salmon thinking you're protecting your eyes, you're getting a fraction of the benefit and potentially adding inflammatory omega-6 that works against you. 2 servings of wild salmon per week. That's the intervention. Baked, grilled, poached, not fried, high-heat frying with seed oils destroys the omega-3s and adds the inflammatory fats you're trying to avoid. This matters. Keep going with me, because what I'm about to show you next, the food at number 4, is one that almost nobody talks about in the context of eye health. And the mechanism is fascinating. Food number 4, sweet potatoes. Sweet potatoes, not yams, sweet potatoes, and specifically the orange-fleshed variety. Here's why. One medium sweet potato contains over 700% of your daily requirement of beta-carotene, the precursor to vitamin A. And while most people associate vitamin A with good for your eyes in a vague general sense, the specific mechanism is far more important and more targeted than most people realize. Your rod photoreceptors, the cells responsible for peripheral vision and low-light vision, depend on a molecule called rhodopsin to function. Rhodopsin is made from retinol, which is the active form of vitamin A. Every single time light hits a rod photoreceptor, a molecule of rhodopsin is consumed. It has to be regenerated, and it can only be regenerated if there's sufficient retinol, sufficient vitamin A, available in the retinal pigment epithelium. If vitamin A levels are low, and subclinical vitamin A insufficiency is far more common in seniors than most doctors realize, especially in those who followed low-fat diets for decades. Rhodopsin regeneration slows down. Your rod cells work less efficiently, night vision degrades, dark adaptation takes longer. You struggle to see when you walk from a bright room into a dark one. And here's why this matters beyond just night vision. If you've ever stumbled in a dimly lit hallway, missed a step going down to the basement, couldn't see the edge of a curb at dusk, that's not just inconvenience. For a senior, that's a fall. And falls are one of the leading causes of hospitalization and loss of independence in adults over 65. Nobody connects their vitamin A status to their fall risk, but the connection is there. Poor dark adaptation leads to navigational errors in low light. Low light environments are where most indoor falls happen, and vitamin A is the limiting factor in how fast your eyes adjust. This isn't a disease, it's a nutritional deficit with a direct, measurable impact on visual function and on your safety. And sweet potatoes solve it efficiently, cheaply, deliciously. But here's the detail that matters. Beta-carotene, like lutein, is fat-soluble. Eat a sweet potato plain, you absorb some. Eat it with a tablespoon of butter or a drizzle of olive oil. Absorption increases by 200 to 600%, depending on the study. A study in the American Journal of Clinical Nutrition, co-ingestion of fat with beta-carotene-rich foods dramatically improved plasma carotenoid levels compared to fat-free consumption. Regina added a baked sweet potato with a pad of grass-fed butter to her dinners 3 times per week. Simple. No special preparation, no expensive supplement, and the next food on this list does something none of the previous 4 can do. It protects the blood vessels that feed your retina, the ones that blood sugar damages first. Before I get to the top 3 foods, and number 1 genuinely surprised me, I need to talk about something that's been bothering me since I started this research. The eye health supplement industry. You've seen them. The bottles at every pharmacy, every grocery store, every health food store. Ardred's formula, lutein capsules, vision support with bilberry extract, eye vitamins with a picture of a crystal clear iris on the label. This is a $3.40 billion market in the United States alone, and I need you to know something about it. The Ardred's 2 study, the large NIH-funded trial that all of these supplements reference on their labels, did find that a specific formula of vitamins reduced the risk of progression from intermediate to advanced macular degeneration by about 25%. That's real. I'm not disputing that, but here's what the supplement industry doesn't put on the label. That benefit was only demonstrated in people who already had *intermediate macular degeneration. Not early, not preventive, intermediate, meaning significant drusen already present, meaningful structural changes already underway. For people with no macular degeneration or early minimal changes, the Ardred's formula showed no benefit, none. And yet these supplements are marketed to everyone, every senior, every person over 50 who's slightly worried about their eyesight. Take this every day to protect your vision. The evidence doesn't support that claim for most people buying the product. And here's the part that actually concerns me medically. Some of these supplements contain forms of zinc oxide, at doses of 80 milligrams per day. The tolerable upper intake level for zinc for adults is 40 milligrams per day. The Ardred's formula exceeds it by double. Chronic high-dose zinc supplementation has been associated with copper deficiency because zinc and copper compete for absorption in your gut. Over months and years, high zinc intake suppresses copper levels, and copper deficiency can cause anemia, and this is the cruel irony, neurological symptoms that mimic macular degeneration, vision changes, fatigue, weakness. A study published in the journal *Nutrients* found that prolonged high-dose zinc supplementation without copper co-supplementation led to measurable reductions in copper status in older adults. Some newer RED's formulas add copper to counteract this, some don't, and the labels rarely explain why. So let me be clear, if your ophthalmologist has diagnosed intermediate macular degeneration and specifically recommended REDs, take it. That's evidence-based. But if you're taking eye supplements just in case, you're spending $30 to $50 a month on capsules that have no proven benefit for you, and that may be quietly depleting your copper levels. Let me put that in perspective. $50 a month is $600 a year for a supplement with no demonstrated benefit in people without intermediate macular degeneration. That $600 could buy you a year's worth of wild salmon, blueberries, spinach, eggs, walnuts, sweet potatoes, and flaxseed. The 7 foods I'm showing you today, foods that provide the same carotenoids, the same omega-3s, the same antioxidants, informs your body actually absorbs with cofactors already built in without the zinc risk. And here's the part that really gets under my skin. These supplement companies know the RED's data. They know the benefit was only demonstrated in intermediate AMD, but their marketing doesn't say for people with intermediate macular degeneration only. Their marketing says protect your eyes, support healthy vision for adults 50 and older. That's not lying, technically, but it's not the truth either. It's a carefully constructed impression designed to make healthy people buy a product they don't need. The supplement industry doesn't want you to know any of this because you can't patent a sweet potato. Okay, back to the foods. Top 3 now. And these are the ones with the strongest evidence. Food number 3, blueberries. And not for the reason you think. Yes, blueberries contain anthocyanins, the pigments that give them their deep blue-purple color. And yes, anthocyanins are antioxidants. You've heard this before. But here's what you probably haven't heard, and this is the mechanism that got my attention. Anthocyanins from blueberries have been shown to cross the blood-retinal barrier. That's a highly selective membrane similar to the blood-brain barrier that controls what substances can reach the retina from the bloodstream. Most molecules can't cross it. Anthocyanins can. Once inside the retina, anthocyanins do something specific. They upregulate the expression of endogenous antioxidant enzymes. Superoxide dismutase, catalase, glutathione peroxidase, these are your body's own built-in antioxidant defense systems, the ones that actually neutralize the free radicals generated by light exposure. A study published in the journal Molecular Vision found that anthocyanin-rich berry extracts reduced oxidative damage to retinal pigment epithelial cells by 40% in laboratory models. Not by scavenging free radicals directly, the way vitamin C does, but by teaching the cells to defend themselves more effectively. That's a fundamentally different mechanism. That's not a band-aid. That's rebuilding the defense system. And there's a vascular component too. Anthocyanins improve endothelial function, the health of the inner lining of your blood vessels, including the retinal capillaries. A meta-analysis in the Journal of Agricultural and Food Chemistry found that regular berry consumption significantly improved flow-mediated dilation, a measure of blood vessel health in adults over 50. Better blood vessel function means better oxygen delivery to the retina, better waste removal, better nutrient supply. Half a cup of fresh blueberries daily, or frozen, freezing actually preserves anthocyanin content quite well. One of the few cases where the frozen version is nutritionally equivalent to fresh. Regina blends half a cup of frozen blueberries into her morning yogurt. Takes 30 seconds, costs about 60 cents. And the food at number 2, this one does something that no other food on this list does. It specifically targets the blood sugar pathway that damages retinal blood vessels. Food number 2, walnuts. And I can already hear some of you thinking, nuts for my eyes? Let me explain, because the mechanism here is elegant, and it's something the eye care industry completely ignores. Walnuts are the only tree nut with a meaningful amount of alpha-linolenic acid, the plant-based omega-3. But that's not why they're number 2 on this list. Walnuts are number 2 because of their effect on glycemic control. But here's the anti-inflammatory mechanism that elevates flaxseed above everything else on this list. SDG lignans are metabolized by gut bacteria into enterolactone and enterodiol compounds that modulate the NF-kappa B inflammatory signaling pathway. NF-kappa B is the master switch for chronic inflammation in your body. It's activated by oxidative stress, by high blood sugar, by damaged blood vessels. And when it's chronically active, as it often is in adults over 60, it drives the inflammatory processes that accelerate macular degeneration, diabetic retinopathy, and glaucoma. Flaxseed lignans help turn that switch down, not off, but down toward a healthier baseline. A study in the British Journal of Nutrition found that daily flaxseed consumption significantly reduced inflammatory markers, C-reactive protein, and IL-6 in adults with metabolic risk factors. These are the same inflammatory markers associated with progression of retinal disease. And one more thing, flax seeds contain mucilage fiber, a soluble gel-forming fiber that slows glucose absorption in the gut, which means they also blunt the blood sugar spikes that damage your retinal capillaries. So let me stack it for you. Flax seeds reduce blood pressure, protecting retinal blood vessels. They reduce inflammation via the NF-kappa B pathway, slowing macular degeneration. They improve glycemic control, reducing the blood sugar damage that causes diabetic retinopathy. And they provide the highest plant-based omega-3 content available, supporting photoreceptor membrane integrity. One food, 4 mechanisms, all targeting different pathways to the same outcome, protecting your vision. 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed per day. Ground, not whole. Whole flax seeds pass through your gut undigested. You absorb nothing. Grind them yourself in a coffee grinder or buy pre-ground and store them in the freezer to prevent oxidation. Sprinkle on yogurt, stir into oatmeal, the steel-cut kind. Mix into a smoothie. Regina adds them to her morning eggs, along with the spinach. One meal, 3 of the top 7 eye-protecting foods in a single plate. Now, before I give you the weekly plan, there's a safety issue I need to address, because some of the foods on this list, particularly wild salmon, walnuts, and flax seeds, have mild anticoagulant properties. They make your blood slightly less sticky, which is generally a good thing for cardiovascular and retinal vascular health. But if you're taking blood-thinning medications, warfarin, Coumadin, Eliquis, Xarelto, Plavix, this is a conversation you need to have with your doctor before dramatically increasing your intake of these foods. The interaction isn't dangerous in normal dietary amounts, but if you go from eating no fish and no nuts to suddenly consuming salmon 3 times a week, plus daily walnuts, plus daily flaxseed, you're adding a meaningful amount of anticoagulant activity on top of your medication. A pharmacokinetic review published in the journal Thrombosis Research confirmed that high-dose omega-3 supplementation, above 3 grams per day, can potentiate the effect of anticoagulant medications, increasing bleeding risk. Dietary amounts are generally safe, but the combination deserves monitoring. Similarly, and this is the supplement interaction, do not combine high-dose vitamin E supplements with the omega-3 rich foods on this list, and a blood thinner. That triple combination has been associated with increased bruising and bleeding time in case reports. The eye health supplements I discussed earlier, the AREDS formula, contain vitamin E. If you're taking AREDS, plus eating the foods on this list, plus taking a blood thinner, you need your INR, or clotting function, monitored more closely. None of this is meant to scare you away from these foods, it's meant to protect you. Talk to your doctor, show them this list, ask about monitoring. That's responsible, that's smart. Now, I talked a lot today about blood sugar and how it damages the tiny blood vessels in your retina. But your retina isn't the only organ those blood vessels feed. I made a video about 7 breakfast foods, the ones most seniors eat every single morning, that are silently spiking blood sugar in ways that damage your eyes, your kidneys, your heart, and your brain. And number 1 on that list is the food your doctor probably recommended. I almost didn't publish it, watch it next.